Hello. In our most anticipated epoxy resin tutorial videos, How to Polish Epoxy Best, we will share in detail the techniques used by professional manufacturers worldwide to polish resin to the most flawless crystal quality and produce products with glass-like transparency. In this tutorial, we will teach you how to polish resin using the polishing technique and the common mistakes made during polishing. The primary purpose of the polishing process is to remove visible and invisible scratches remaining after sanding the resin, ensuring flawless transparency and shine. The reason resin is not glass-like transparent, is cloudy, or does not shine like crystal is usually due to invisible micro-scratches on the surface compromising its quality. The biggest mistake made at this stage is that shortly after starting to polish, the surface achieves a partial shine, and this shine deceives you. In addition, some technical knowledge is required to control the micro-scratches on the surface. Polishing is a process that requires certain techniques, certain materials, and patience. Materials required for polishing with rubbing compound and polish. 1 variable speed polishing machine. 1 piece of sheep's wool felt. 1 piece of firm sponge for thick scratches and swirls. 1 soft sponge for fine scratches and swirls. Fine scratch and swirl remover compound. Abrasive compound for removing deep sanding scratches. Heavy scratch remover compound and a microfiber cloth that can be found in standard supermarkets. Air gun compressor for cleaning sponges and felts. The materials shown in the video are for illustrative purposes only. Detailed information about the brands and products we use during the polishing process can be found in the subscriber-only section of our Instagram page. First, let's talk about the basic and important information of the polishing stage. The polishing process begins with sheep's wool felt. This is because it is the most effective material for removing thick scratches left over from the sanding process. Make sure you attach the felt pad to the machine base precisely in the center. Start the machine to ensure the felt doesn't rotate unevenly. The areas where you apply rubbing compound and polish should always be about the width of your shoulders. This is because when you move the polishing machine too far to the right, left, or forward, beyond your shoulder width, the pressure on the machine changes, and it also causes the sponge or felt to move unevenly. Ensure the sponge or felt pad is completely flat and pressed evenly across its entire surface during all stages of polishing. Never use felt or foam tilted to one side. Using felt or sponge at an angle to one side carries the risk of creating deformations on the epoxy surface. Ensure the surface is clean before applying the polishing compound. If you have used products such as wood oil or wood stain, make sure that any excess is cleaned off and the surface is dry. Otherwise, the sponge or felt will be negatively affected by these products and will reduce the quality of the polishing process. After these checks, you are ready for the polishing process. Step 1. Shake the compound well before each use. Apply 6 to 8 hazelnut-sized drops of abrasive compound and 4 to 6 hazelnut-sized drops of heavy scratch remover to a 1 square meter area, placing them on different sections. Then, with the polishing machine turned off, spread the compound evenly using the felt pad. With the felt pad flat on the surface, run the polishing machine at 600 revolutions per minute or the lowest speed, and move the pad evenly across the surface in consistent passes. We recommend moving across the surface first with vertical movements, then with horizontal movements. After applying at the lowest speed for about 1 minute, increase the speed to 1000 to 1400 revolutions per minute. At this speed setting, continue applying the product with even movements for approximately 10 to 15 minutes per square meter. In some cases, if the polishing machine starts to struggle or you notice a burning smell, stop the process and clean the polishing compound from your felt pad with an air gun. Do not try to clean off all the remaining compound from the pad. Running the polishing machine at the lowest speed while idle during this process will make the cleaning easier. Continue polishing the same area for another 4 to 6 minutes at 1000 to 1400 revolutions per minute without applying more compound. To remove deep sanding scratches, you may need to repeat these steps in the same order, usually 2 to 3 more times. How can we tell when the first step is complete? To check that deep scratches have been removed, we recommend using light reflections. Adjust your viewing angle to ensure light reflections fall on the areas you want to control. If you see thick sanding scratches around these reflections, definitely do not end step 1. With sufficient application, you will see the deep, dense-looking sanding scratches around these reflections disappear. At this stage, you may see circular scratches 5 to 6 centimeters in diameter or even larger, created by the abrasive and thick compound. These scratches will be removed in step 2. After applying all the procedures described in step 1 to the other surfaces, you are ready for step 2. 2. Step. In the second step of the polishing process, we will continue to use sheep's wool felt, but this time we will only use a compound that removes thick scratches, applying the same steps as in the previous step. Once this stage is complete, most of the circular scratches left on the surface by the abrasive compound will have been removed. When this stage is complete, some of the wide circular scratches that the thick compound will create may remain. Don't try to remove them completely. After completing the same process on all surfaces, clean the entire surface with a microfiber cloth. Repeat the scratch check procedure you performed in the first step. Once the small sanding scratches visible at millimeter intervals and the widely spaced polishing scratches visible frequently on the surface have been removed, you can proceed to stage 3. 3. Step. In step 3, we will apply the polishing compound for thick scratches again, this time using a firm sponge designed for thick scratches. Ensure the sponge is placed precisely in the center of the machine plate and the machine is not rotating unevenly. At this stage, the amount of compound used will be slightly less than in the first step. Apply 3 to 5 hazelnut-sized drops of compound per square meter. As in the first step, start applying with horizontal and vertical movements for about 1 minute until the compound is evenly spread over the surface and the sponge. Then set the machine speed to 1000 to 1200 revolutions per minute and continue working for about 15 minutes per square meter at this setting. Use the application shown in the video as a reference for the machine's movement speed over the surface. There is no need to reapply compound until the transparent oily layer left on the surface has completely disappeared. However, if the surface appears dry, reapply a few hazelnut-sized drops of compound. During application, be sure to clean the polishing pad with an air gun each time the surface dries. If you carefully follow all the details explained in this training up to this point, you will start to see epoxy surfaces achieve a glass-like clarity and an impressive crystal shine that you may not have achieved before. And now you can move on to the 4. and final stage. 4. Step. The fourth stage of polishing removes the microscopic marks left by heavy compounds, often invisible to the naked eye, allowing epoxy surfaces to achieve an even more flawless, glass-like clarity. At this stage, we will use a compound for fine scratches and swirl marks with a compatible soft foam pad. During this fine scratch and swirl removal stage, further reduce compound usage. Applying 2 to 3 hazelnut-sized drops per square meter is sufficient. The machine, movement and other rules applied in the felt and hard sponge stages also apply to this stage. Again, after spreading the polishing compound on the surface and sponge at the lowest speed of the polishing machine, continue the application at a maximum of 800 revolutions per minute for up to 20 to 25 minutes per square meter. You will see the surface gradually gain brightness and its transparency increase. One common mistake users make is trying to start with step 3 or 4 and skipping steps 1 and 2 because the surface shine is visible in steps 3 and 4. Unless the applications in steps 1 and 2 remove deep scratches from the surface, you will not achieve the high transparency and gloss results seen in steps 3 and 4. If the product does not achieve the expected glass-like clarity despite completing all applications properly, there may be several reasons. You may not have used high clarity, first-grade epoxy brands, may have used a low-hardness epoxy, or may have made mistakes in ambient conditions, mixing, or pouring techniques during casting. Please watch the training videos on our channel in order, without skipping any details, and strictly follow all the content and rules explained in the training programs. This program will enable you to achieve epoxy work with flawless glass-like clarity, perfect production, and a unique shine, attainable by only a few manufacturers worldwide. You can ask us any questions you have in the comments section. We continue to create new and engaging content to provide you with even more value. You can follow this content by subscribing to our channel.